across the top you see that there's 4 buttons. Run start button, the step through options button, M button means save to memory your configurations, your screen setup configurations, and F for file saves, to save files. Over here we have a plus or minus jog switch, and over here we have a left and right arrow jog switch. So let's take a look at those. If I move the left or right arrow jog switch, notice right now my cursor is blinking right up here. If I move it to the left, it goes to the next position. But notice it went down. That's because it remembers where you were. When you use the S switch, you can step through the various positions. And wherever you leave it, when you jog left or right, then it stays in that position. Notice right now there's nothing flashing here. I just went left one position. That's because it's way down here in the bottom right hand corner. It's the X position, which is your trigger position. So once again I press the S key, it will step back up to the top one, step down to the next one, set the time base, and step back down to X position. So this is true on all these menu items. So put it back up the top. We slide over here, we have channel 4, channels 3, and channels C and D are TTL logic channels. And if you use the plus or minus toggle, you see that we can select file 4321. We can have channels C and D. I think that's an OR. It's C or D, and then C and D logic comparisons. Then we can have channels A and B, mathematical subtract, shown down here on this green channel, or mathematical A plus B of the 2 analog channels shown down on the green channel, or just the green channel itself if you're looking at TTL. We'll go ahead and hide it. So it goes jog over here to the left. Notice here on channel B, which is the yellow lines. One thing that might be confusing is if you go back over here to the trigger channel, the trigger menu item, notice it's light blue right now. If I use the plus or minus jog tool, I can switch to the channel I want to have the triggers affect. So right now it's affecting the B channel because it's yellow. Right now it's affecting the A channel because it's blue. So if you're over here doing things on the A or B channel, make sure you have the associated trigger cover that matches the channel, otherwise your triggers won't affect that channel. In each of the top menu channels there's 3 choices. Well, not each one. This one has 3 choices. Triggers, and you use your plus minus jog tool. We already said to change which channel you want the triggers to affect. Then use the S button over here to select. Now it's on the positive transition trigger. We now use the plus or minus jog to change it to other things. Negative transition. I won't go into all of them right now. Now we can step down to the next channel, which is the threshold level. And now the plus or minus jog will set there, and you can see the trigger level line right here is moving with the plus minus jog key. Same holds true for any of these other menu items. Let's go back and look at channel A for a second. Notice channel A right now I'm selected on volts per division. If I use the plus minus jog key, I can step through the various scales, volts per division. If I hit the S key, it'll step down here, way down at the bottom, for the vertical position, and now I can move the plus minus jog key, can move the waveform up or down. If I step again, that brings us back up to A, and here I can, with the plus or minus, I can hide it or enable it. There's only 2 choices. If I step again, we're down here on the input coupling. Right now it's AC. The plus or minus jog, I can make it DC or AC. So that's how you operate these functions on the channels A and B. Because I updated the software to version date January 18th, 2011, with that update, it still says the same software version number, which is a little confusing. Should have had a 0.0x change, but they don't. So with this software version, there's also 0115 version. Notice we now have a backlight capability. We can set the backlight intensity, and we have a volume adjustment, adjust the volume. One thing that I see missing right now is a grid adjustment, so maybe they'll add that in the future. We come down the page here, scroll down. The scroll bar is a little bit unusual. It's kind of hard to keep track of where it went. Notice here it jumped to delta voltage. Now it's down here at save file. So we can save files if you go through the proper procedure of formatting the internal USB drive. Once again, you step through here at the S key to select the file number and file data type, and then you can use the plus minus jog key to change. There's three choices: BMP, DAT, and CVS. Oh, I see. They got rid of the CVS on version 118. So you step back, and then when you're ready to save the file, you just actually hold the F key, and it will save the file, and it'll say it's okay, it saved it. Notice it did not update the file sequence number. So you have to go over there if you want to do another save. You're going to have to come up here and step over to the next position. Use the plus minus jog key to jog it up one position. I don't know if the F will work right now or not. Yeah, the F works no matter which one of these submenus you have selected. So that pretty much concludes a quick view of how to use the keys on this unit. It appears that the Quad Nano was designed so that you could have 3 additional applications installed simultaneously. When you turn it on, you hold the S key, and that installs the secondary application number 1, M key installs the secondary application 2, and F key installs the secondary application number 3. If you don't hold any of the keys, turn it on, it goes to the default application, which we're looking at right now. If you want to update your firmware, you simply turn it off. While it's off, you hold the stop run key, turn it on, and it goes out and looks on its own internal flash hard drive, and it looks for a file to see if it has an update. So if it has a file that matches the format it's looking for, it will update the thing automatically. So all I do now is turn it off, turn it back on, and now it's been updated. So we'll take a look at it in a few minutes. Look at it in a few minutes on the computer.
Okay, here we are looking at the 2 megabyte USB drive built inside the Quad Nano. It has a volume name of DSO Quad, and the drive letter just happens to be I on my computer. And the contents, when it came from the factory, it had 0 through 9 BMP. It also had this 1229 sys.hex. I renamed it. I reversed the 3 letters of the extension to XEH so it doesn't recognize it now. I won't try to load it. And the last thing I loaded was 0118 application.hex. There's also a 115 application. I reversed the extend again so it doesn't recognize it. Won't try to load it. So instead of deleting the old files, just change the extent. That way you can always come back to it later if you desire to. I created a dummy DAT file, and I did save DAT file. That seemed to work. I created a dummy that came with dummy BMPs, and I saved file 0, file 1, and that worked fine. Up here is the 118 firmware folder. When you unzip this file right here, you get these 3 files. I'm confused why that says that. What's going on there? As it turns out, my unzipping program thought that was an ISO because it's a binary file, but it's just a bin file, so that's why it's got that symbol. So you unzip this 0118 firmware, you end up with AppHex, SysHex, and FPGA bin. I have not installed the bin nor the syshex. And I'm waiting to see how that all goes before I do that. I have installed 118 app. It seems to run just fine. So we're back at this view again. So that concludes the internal USB drive. You plug in a USB cable and it becomes another drive just like any other drive on your computer. What I have noticed is that if the USB cable is plugged into the Quad Nano, when you turn on the Quad Nano, it will not register. It will not become a drive on your computer. You have to unplug the cable and then plug the USB cable back in after the Nano is powered up before your PC will find it as a physical drive named DSO Quad.